Magic, what does Jean-Jacques say after the training's done?
The jiu-jitsu lesson starts
Jiu-jitsu
when the training stops. Yes, 100%.
It's been a fun week. Jay's been with us for just a little bit under a week now. I do like getting guest coaches here. It's also nice anytime you get to share the mat with people that have made martial arts their lifestyle and teaching, because it is a rare thing that people will commit that much of their time, and it's passion. You still train. You're 56 years old.
Yes, sir.
You teach every day, do privates every day. It's a different level of commitment. You have a competitive background as well. Not everybody ticks all those boxes, but some of us do. I do enjoy the philosophy side of martial arts as well, which is fun, which is probably why we get along so well. And we often have long chats about martial arts and what's going on. What do you think has been the biggest change that you've seen in students since gyms have opened back up and COVID's not really a thing anymore? Have things changed, or is it back to business as normal?
Now it's starting to get more back to business. For a brief while, even that first year, there was still, even if the students themselves were okay with coming in and training, there was still a level of insulation because they might have elder family members or people who have compromised immune systems. So they were always taking a little extra precaution, staying away a little bit more as a result. And to me, it was just after the initial wave of everything happened and then things started to kind of open up, it was still a very organic process. It didn't just happen overnight.
Yep.
You see people slowly get back, and now it's full steam ahead.
Yeah.
So
I feel like it's business as normal, which is nice. We can get back to how everything was before. Travel's back. It's nice. Internationals travel's back.
Yes.
It's definitely much easier this time getting you over than it was last time. We were still dealing with those things. I love traveling and training. Is that something that you encourage students to do? Do you encourage them to travel and train? Do you encourage them when they're away on holidays to find somewhere to drop in?
I do like I'm always open to the idea of the students experiencing other environments, and one of the things, that's why I'm such an advocate for competition. I mean, we don't force it, but I really encourage it, because I'm like, you need to, number one, step out of your comfort zone, but create exposure to people who may play a vastly different game than you're used to seeing, a different style. And that adaptability is what really empowers the skill level that you're at. And I'm fond of telling people that, to be an expert in jiu-jitsu, I'm not even equating it to a belt, but to be an expert does not necessarily mean that you can go in and just submit everybody on the mat. That's a tall task. But to me, being an expert means no matter what individual is in front of you, you're not going to be surprised. They'll move in a way, they'll react in a way, they'll play a specific game, and it's like, no, I'm familiar with this.
Yep.
And that comes from the ability of sometimes getting out of your normal training environment and exposing yourself to other styles and other approaches. The only thing I always just tell people is just take care where you go, because culture is not the same in every gym, and that's the thing that I'm just most concerned about.
Yeah, I like people to experience different cultures too. I feel like it'll either help them find somewhere that they fit better, or make them hopefully a little bit more grateful about what they've got, where they're at.
Yes.
And again, you need a certain level of confidence in what you do to be able to encourage that type of thing. But yeah, competition. I mean, how many times if you asked everybody in class, and I do this quite regularly, who's interested in jiu-jitsu being useful for self-defense? And everyone will put up their hand. And I'm like, well, guys, I hate to tell you, if you're too scared to compete once a year or once a belt level, when you need that jiu-jitsu, it might fail you.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately. That extra pressure test, that extra grip strength, intensity, timing is a little bit different in a competitive jiu-jitsu match. And, it's a different rhythm again for mixed martial arts. Like that street violence that you feel will definitely have a different rhythm. Not to say your training is going to be useless, but if you really want to involve in best practice, that's what I tell people. It's like, yeah, you can not do it, but it's my job to at least inform you what best practice should be.
Yeah, the stress inoculation is everything. I mean, I'm kind of mindful about that whenever people tell me, whether it's jiu-jitsu or they just say, I'm interested in training martial arts, but my priorities, I want to learn how to defend myself. Then I tell them, I go, wherever you wind up going, try your best to participate in a competitive aspect of whatever it is you're studying. I don't care what the style is, whether it's a stand-up style and you have the ability to enter a boxing tournament or a karate tournament where they're sparring. And of course, jiu-jitsu is...
Well, sparring's the first level of all of that, isn't it?
Yes.
It's like, and you don't even need to spar straight away at the beginning. People take different lengths of time. And when anybody asks me what length of time, I'm always like, well, depends. Because humans are just so different.
Yeah.
So, some people can grow up playing rugby or football, and contact sports generally take to sparring a lot quicker. But if you've had a fairly soft, kind, and non-contact upbringing, then you'll take a little bit longer. It's not that you won't be able to, but you will just take a little bit longer to find your feet.
I always equate it. I mean, I use this analogy primarily with children, but even entering in the competitive environment, I tell people it's like you watch a group of kids go in front of a swimming pool for the first time. You have a few kids that just stay by the fence. They don't want to go anywhere near the pool. You have some kids that'll walk and put their feet on the steps and kind of touch the water. And then you have the fearless ones that jump right into the deep end, not even knowing how to swim. And that to me is the approach. You get three types of approaches when it comes to competition. And even entering a martial arts school just to train.
Yeah, if someone told me I couldn't roll the first class that I did, I never would have come back. You know, so there definitely isn't best practice for keeping people like away from those things. If someone had told me no, I would have had to have gone to find somewhere else.
Yeah,
and it was why I walked out of martial arts clubs when I was 14, 15. I was like, oh, this is a little bit weird.
That's the approach we take with new students. You know, we take them through, like when the sparring rounds start, we make sure they're paired up with somebody who, will either just drill with them a particular technique, pass the guard, escape the mount, something like that. And we'll have them do a few of those, and then we just tell them, you let us know when you're comfortable. Like if it takes you a week, if it takes you a day, or you want to spar now, but the choice is yours, but we're not going to tell you no.
Yes.
You know?
I love that, because we do that. We start with hold training. Hey, we're just going to do some hold training now. If you don't feel comfortable yet in the free play aspect of it, and explain it to them, you can sit out and watch for a couple of nights. And most people, to be honest, are like, no, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
Occasionally people say that they want to watch, and I think it's definitely fair. It's a good idea, especially if you have zero idea what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is, or some people don't even watch mixed martial arts. They just somehow ended up wanting to do Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, and then we make sure that if they do spar, they spar with an advanced rank. We never let the beginners train with the beginners, and even when they spar, we always tell the advanced student, take care, because on the surface the student may be fine, but we don't know if they have any PTSD. They might have been the victim of a traumatic event and they don't want to tell us anything. So we got to be mindful not to create a trigger effect. So be careful, let them move, let them have some fun, talk them through some positions, make sure it's an enjoyable experience, but it's not a hard wrestle.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense. What do you see as a challenge for school owners and not only that, but the beginners themselves in getting over that hump of feeling comfortable with training? What's the number one thing that you see holds people back from really committing?
Yeah, I mean that's the magic word right there, commitment. It's life. Unfortunately, anything that you want requires a certain level of discipline. And discipline, by definition, at least in my book, is the act of committing yourself to a habit daily or every 2 days or whatever it might be, consistently without fail. And those acts are things that better your life in some way. And most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, they're things that we're not always in tune with wanting to do. There are some days it's just like, I don't want to train today. But you understand from the discipline aspect, if I sit home, that's a ripple effect. I'm allowing myself to break that discipline.
Yeah, turning up when you're not whole is hard for people at the beginning. Turning up sore, turning up tired, turning up sad, mad.
Because I tell students, I tell them, I'm like, a student will come in and say, I'm nursing an injury or whatever. I'm like, I'm happy you're here. Come in, take the lesson. If you want to roll a little bit, that's fine. You want to drill a little bit, that's fine. I'm just glad you're in here. And make sure whoever you work with, tell them about your injury. You don't need to train hard. This is not a no pain, no gain environment. This is a we grow a little bit every day environment.
And we talked about it the other day too, right? Because you and I have talked about this before in the past, but one of my students the other day says, I'm always worried when I'm injured that I'm going to be a burden to someone else. And like, you're definitely not a burden when you show up injured or not whole, because at that point in time, you have now become a source of inspiration to everybody doing the right thing, which I think sometimes there's some kind of like financial motivation from school owners or coaches that we want you in because you're a paying member, but it's actually we want you in to keep the knowledge pouring into your head, because jiu-jitsu, even boxing, Muay Thai, all these things, they're such a disciplined act that small improvements come over time. You cannot improve if you're not turning up.
Yeah.
And the knowledge is so deep, because every time I'm with someone who has been doing jiu-jitsu longer than me, I'm like, I never thought of it that way. Oh, what about this? And I have so many of these aha moments. And I think next year's 19 years for me. It'll be 20 years the year after that, and I still having these moments all the time.
Yeah, I tell students, I'm like, even if we had 30 students that never came in, but they paid us every month, I don't want that, But people, I think, fail to understand, not all instructors. I was told this by Jean-Jacques, two types of instructors: those that teach from their heart, for their passion, and those that teach for their ego. You and I both, I know which side we are from. You're present in every class. It's one of the things I always tell people when I come down here. I'm like, it's amazing you are here. You may not teach the class, but you are on the mat for every single class that goes on in this school. And when you teach with passion, it's because you are here to be of service to your students. It's not about you.
Yeah.
You're here for them. So when they join, there's an expectation there. I'm here for you. I want to help you. I want to be here for you. Where are you? And I mean, of course, the money keeps the doors open, but at the core of this is the commitment you're making to me to help you improve the value of your life.
It can be a difficult thing too when you become a school owner. Like, we have so many different programs now that it's important to have other people. And so when I take holidays, people are comfortable with everyone. So now we have other people leading classes. I try never to be too absent from those classes for too long. I don't want to crowd the other instructors, but it's still important to know the people that turn up to those classes, so when they see you at grading events or other things, they know what's going on. And it's also important to try and learn people's names, and you're never going to do that on grading day if you've never seen the 7 a.m. class before,
Yeah.
or you've never seen the Thursday night class before. It's fun to teach with other instructors. It's fun to have peers. Often when I started martial arts, I felt like some of the instructors were pushing away their peers. Like, as soon as someone got good or challenged them on the mat, so I can't roll with that guy anymore. I can't let anyone see them. I can't let anyone see them beat me. And I think it's really fun to create a peer-like environment. Sometimes you're blue belts or you're purple belts or you're beginners in striking that have come from a Taekwondo background that are now doing Muay Thai. You're like, what was that you did? I find that exciting. I think Jiu-Jitsu especially is good at group learning environments. I'm not sure about boxing and Muay Thai yet. I haven't seen too many cultures like that in the mixed martial arts realm. There's often people are sharing information from boxing coaches, Muay Thai coaches, so it's pretty common. But I really do like that group learning environment where people feel comfortable to ask and to share.
In programming, I came from a background of web design back in late 90s, early 2000s, and there's an environment, I guess, a culture. It's open source programming, which is where somebody comes up with a solution for an issue, for something, for a website, whatever it might be. Like, we need to have the ability to put a contact form on a website. Well, somebody will script one out that works, and then what they do is they just take the entire code and they put it on the open public website, open source, for everyone to use. And I think that's an important component with jiu-jitsu. I mean, we all have the intricate details that make our styles a little unique, and what makes the techniques in one school a little bit different from the other. But in the broad scope of things, we're all here to contribute. And the idea behind open source technology is it makes the whole industry more robust. There's limitless potential for what can be done through a website because of it. Now, if people hid that information, the internet might not be where it is today.
Yeah, I love that. And with the added, the internet and the instructionals, and that, jiu-jitsu is absorbed from kind of wrestling, and now we have all these wonderful instructors out there. It is almost open sourced, and
Yes.
it's fun, which means it's able to do that. And I truly believe a group learning environment can supersede curriculum and structure.
Yes. I'm not a fan of. I understand some merit for curriculum, but the thing with a curriculum, if you can use it as a guideline, but I feel when I go into the academy, I may have a lesson plan in place, ready to go, and then we might have 2 or 3 new students, or we might have somebody that comes in that has their arm in a sling, and they want to train. Well, if I'm basing what I'm going to teach tonight on a curriculum, guess what? Maybe those people will be left out. Or worse, this is what they're learning, but you're going to learn this because, there's no way to sugarcoat it. You just don't have the experience to do this. We're going to separate you. You have to have the ability to be connected to your school. And if you're present with your class and you're present and watching them and being connected with what they're doing, you'll always be able to guide them along. You won't have the need for a resource to what am I teaching tonight? I wasn't a fond of it when I first started teaching, and I'm less of a fan of it now. But I digress. If you're cultivating new instructors, sometimes you need guidance, and that's where their value is.
Yeah, guidance, or at least structure, so people can segue from one lesson to the next and have themes. But I definitely do like to give instructors the freedom to pass on their jiu-jitsu. And one of the best ways to bring an instructor up, I've found, is that it's not saying we're going to do half guards tonight and I'll teach something. You teach the next thing off the back of what I'm teaching. And then they teach things. And it becomes this fun little choose your own adventure. It's a really fun way to teach. And if you haven't done it before, I really suggest people out there that are watching this is get your buddies that are instructors and have fun and see if you can run a class like that. And you'll probably find it gives the mat good energy.
Oh,
It's super fun.
Even at Jean-Jacques, it's pretty cool that he does this once in a while, but he'll have, there's Professor Mark Armstrong, myself, and then Jean-Jacques. Jean-Jacques usually present for most of the classes, and every so often he'll come up to us and he's like, Jay, you, Mark, you're going to each show a technique, and then I'll show the third technique. And we try to keep it all along the same subject line. And it's just amazing, it's like the continuity, they're all a little different, but the students get to kind of like a buffet, pick and choose the things, and I think that's
a little bit of meat and potatoes here, a little bit of garnishing over here,
and you have a coral belt that's willing to open himself up like that and to allow his guys in, which goes back to the same thing. You can leave and take an extended leave because you've cultivated your instructors from within, so the students won't see you leave and then somebody that they don't even know running the classes. They have such a relationship with your instructors here because all you guys have come here from the ground up. So should you depart for any extended period, people will naturally follow your leadership.
Yeah, and unfortunately we see that a lot when people own clubs and bring in instructors and something happens and the instructor leaves and they leave with 50% of the students.
Well, for me, I just took it, I go back to being a kid and training at an academy. For example, I've told people this story. I trained at one fairly famous academy, and the guy, back in like the 70s, 60s, 70s, he was a big point fighter. He fought Benny Urquidez, Chuck Norris, Bill Wallace, all the classic fighters of that era. And the front lobby was just trophies everywhere. I never saw him.
Yeah.
And then it was always a different instructor. Like every month, it was one of his black belts, but it was a different guy. And it got to the point where I'm like, nobody's invested in me. I mean, this guy has no idea who I am. And that it was just easy for me to just leave, because I realized if I leave, will I even be missed? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. So I want to make sure people understand that in our school, in this school, you're valued and appreciated. You program that or teach that, guide that into your leadership, that, you know, the student body is the most important aspect of the business.
Well, look, it's an important aspect in being good at anything, relationships. I don't care if you're a business owner, a boxer, Muay Thai fighter or whatnot. You got to invest in those relationships. Now that isn't just handing over your money at the counter every week. It's actually, if you want someone to coach you, then be super coachable.
Yeah.
and try and like help improve your center's culture and values and be the defender of those things. And man, you will. The more you give like that, the better you'll receive from your coaches and everything else as well. And the same, if you really want great students, then you kind of have to be good enough to coach, to learn people's names, make sure you're helping them, try and keep them inspired, give them some positive feedback every now and then. Maybe a gentle boot in the ass as well, you know, because people do, believe it or not, want some kind of accountability. No one wants to be completely average at everything.
No, and when you're a kid, you know, you thrive, whether you like it or not. You thrive on that. I mean, I'm going to say parental guidance, but you know, your parents are there they reward you, they validate you, they tell you that they're proud of you when you do well. When you slip up, there's always going to be a little repercussion, but it's the attention and it's the caring. That's the reason why they're doing it. What do they always tell you? I'm doing this because I love you. I'm doing this because I care about you. The reason why I'm on you. If I didn't care about you, I would just let you continue doing whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah.
And deep down, we appreciate that. And then you get older, and that goes away. But when people come to a good martial arts school, I won't even just leave it at jiu-jitsu. Any good martial arts school, there's that almost parental mentorship. You know, it's not ownership, but how good does it make you feel when somebody comes up and tells you they're proud of you?
You got to remember, people are adults, and they're gonna make their own choices, and it can be sometimes as simple as like, if your coach shows you something, if you really want to give them a compliment, try it rolling. And you don't even have to get it. But the fact that you're trying something that you just did in their lesson, not only are you going to benefit from it, but your coach, oh, he's actually trying things that I show you. Guess what that makes that coach want to do? Show you more things.
And invest in you.
And invest in you, in you more. And often my jiu-jitsu is better when I haven't thought of it.
Yeah, right.
You know, and to be honest, you know, just from this week, using some of your passing techniques, I've probably passed better today than I had in the previous months of training. I'm like, oh, that's nice. You know?
Well, good. That makes me feel good.
Well, especially because, you know, from a coach's point of view, if you're not taking classes yourself anymore, so I'll travel and take classes, and I like to travel and take jiu-jitsu camps, but I don't take too many classes anymore.
Yeah.
You know, until I get a coach in for a week, or I travel myself, and it's a tough thing to do, because when I'm on the mat, I'm not the most important person on the mat. Everyone else is. So I'm trying to make those things fit. So you do have to find time to go away yourself, or for you, whether it's making sure that you get a chance to sit in one of Jean-Jacques' classes. And
no, actually, I'm making the investment. I already told him before I left. I said we're going to run it back in the new year, because we're moving the school this month. But I'm going to start. I don't know how often, but I'm going to start a regular private regimen with him. I said, I don't want any, you know, I need to schedule some private time with you. And he was so gracious. He said, no, we'll just train during class. Don't worry about it. I'm like, no. Part of it is because...
Well, because you can't relax, because in the class, because they're all your students.
Yes.
You feel like you're taking him away from
Yes,
them.
100%.
And it really eats on your soul. When I
Yes.
first started fight coaching, I was like, look, I couldn't take. I had to make sure I booked privates for boxing and Thai boxing during the day to get my pads in, because when everyone else was hitting pads, I felt like I had to help fix their technique. I wasn't comfortable with people paying for me for a class or a membership where I was meant to be instructing, and then me taking away from them by not being present.
It was a revelation that I kind of came to just a couple of months ago. I kind of took stock of where I'm at right now, and it's like, I have all this opportunity. I teach. I have this a leadership role that I'm grateful for, but it's important for me for my own continued development. But I think even more important, I want him to know how much I still need him. Mm-hmm. I don't have all the answers. I still need that mentorship and guideship. So for me, it's investing back in our relationship. It just means a lot to me.
Yeah.
So
you never will have all those answers.
No.
What we might do is just finish with my favorite question, which is always currently, because often we change our minds for things, and I think I asked you this question last time. What's the best thing that you and everybody else, you think, gets out of training martial arts that has nothing to do with beating people?
Oh, that's a great question. For me, the thing that I love about martial arts, and especially jiu-jitsu, it's given me power to de-escalate, power to take the peaceful approach. It's rare that I find myself getting triggered or wound up whenever I'm in a situation or somebody creates maybe a little conflict or something with me. I always take the jiu-jitsu approach. I take a deep breath. I think about what got us to this point? What are the repercussions if I escalate this? And it's always the same answer. It's just not worth it. And the peace of mind that it gives me, that I can avoid physical conflict, but more importantly, the physical conflict never starts if you have the presence of mind to just say, you know what, lean on your jiu-jitsu and just take a deep breath, take that energy, let it bypass you, because it's always the same thing. Within 15 minutes, you forget about it anyway. That's my answer.
Yeah, I agree. It should become like a downloaded software system for solving problems. And if you can't solve it yourself, ask someone for help. Then go back into battle once you've received that information. Agree completely. Pleasure as always, my friend.
My brother, thank you.
It was a good one.
Thank you.